Our country's an embarrassment in the world.
I am your president of law and order.
People want to hold their position. People want the status quo. People don't want to give that up.
Police now advancing on protesters. Oh my gosh,
I'm more worried about and more confused by the people around our president.
Then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
You wonder about if you live where you thought you lived.
San Antonio Spurs head coach Gregg Popovich has long called how this presidency was unlike any other and how Donald Trump, the failing businessman, would never be able to rise to the moment. Countless times he has been an outspoken advocate for equality and a leading voice of dissent in sports. The thing that strikes me is that we all see this police violence and racism, and we've seen it all before, but nothing changes. That's why these protests have been so explosive. But without leadership and an understanding of what the problem is, there will never be change. And white Americans have avoided reckoning with this problem forever because it's been our privilege to be able to avoid it. This also has to change.
Yes, because you were born white, you have advantages that are systemically, culturally, psychologically there.
If Trump had a brain, even if it was 99% cynical, he would come out and say something to unify people. But he doesn't care about bringing people together, even now. That's how deranged he is. It's all about him. It's all about what benefits him personally. It's never about the greater good, and that's all he's ever been. Credentials on leadership? Popovich talks the talk and walks the walk. On the court, he has 5 NBA championships, building a dynasty in San Antonio. He operated spy satellites monitoring Soviet missile launches under the top-secret Air Force Satellite Control Facility under command of the Space and Missile Systems Organization. He is a graduate of the Air Force. Seriously, Trump, meanwhile?
Evidence that 2 doctors from Queens, New York, helped the president dodge the Vietnam War in 1968.
Dr. Larry Braunstein was a podiatrist who rented a medical office from the president's father, Fred Trump Sr. Braunstein's daughter says that her father diagnosed Trump with bone spurs as a favor to Fred so that he wouldn't have to go fight.
Dodge the draft.
I had deferments because of college, like a lot of people did. Numerous deferments because of college, and I had a foot thing, and I had deferment for that.
Great explanation. Popovich continued, we need a president to come out and say simply that Black Lives Matter. Just those 3 words, but he won't, and he can't. But it's more than just Trump. The system has to change. I'll do whatever I can to help because that's what leaders do. But he can't do anything to put us on a positive path because he's not a leader. It's like what Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz used to say when they had the courage to say it. He's unfit.
Donald Trump is the most unelectable Republican I've seen in my lifetime.
You mess with my wife, you mess with my kids, that'll do it every time. Donald, you're a sniveling coward, and leave Heidi the hell alone.
But they have chosen instead to be invisible and obsequious in the face of this carnage.
You serve at the pleasure of the president. I think you serve at the pleasure of the president.
You have said that he is utterly amoral, that he's a serial philanderer.
I have no interest in revisiting the comments of 2016.
You've moved on.
Cruz is banking on Trump to rev up the Republican base.
In the end, what we have is a fool in place of a president, while the person who really runs the country, Senator Mitch McConnell, destroys the United States for generations to come. McConnell has destroyed and degraded our judicial system. Pop is right. While COVID and protests remain at the forefront, McConnell is set to confirm more and more lifetime judges. Instead of passing legislation to help the American people, Mitch McConnell has chosen to bury those bills in his legislative graveyard, wrote Senate Dems in a 50-page report. I'm appalled that we have a leader who can't say Black Lives Matter. That's why he hides in the White House basement. He is a coward. He creates a situation and runs away like a grade schooler. Actually, I think it's best to ignore him. There's nothing he can do to make this better because of who he is, a deranged idiot. On his final message, Pop said of the protests, they are very necessary, but they need to be organized better. It's frustrating when Dr. King did a protest, you knew when to show, when to come back the next day. But if you're just organizing protests and everyone is coming and going in every direction, it doesn't work that way. If it was nonviolent, they knew to be nonviolent, but this is muddled. More leadership would be very welcome, so these incredible mass demonstrations can't be used by people for other means. We can limit the bad, but only if things are organized better. The system has to change. I'm willing to do my part. If you'd like to hear more thought-provoking content like TYT Sports on Facebook and to help in my journey To keep media independent, go to tyt.com/Rick.